I didn't expect to walk away from the Michael Jackson biopic thinking about my own life. I thought I was just gonna go to the movie, learning about his past, enjoy the music, maybe feel a bit nostalgic, but instead, I walked away feeling called out. So there's actually two scenes that really stuck with me in the movie. And it really shows about his work ethic, his rituals, what goes inside his head that makes him one of the best entertainers. Before he started singing Don't Stop Till You Get Enough in the studio, he asked Quincy, I think it was Quincy, to dim the lights, and before he starts recording, he was just repeating words of positive affirmations about himself, like I am the best, I'm beautiful, I'm great. And I know some people will find it cringe and so on and whatever, but this is actually one of the skills that athletes do use as a pre-ritual or a ritual before the game to perform their very best. It beats out all the negativity in their heads and reinforces the person or the type of person they want to be when they're out there and performing. And also that scene, that where he was in front of the mirror with a lot of sticky notes, and I couldn't really see what they were, but Jafar Jackson said in an interview that when he was learning about Michael Jackson, small habits like pasting positive affirmations around his house, the mirrors where he spends the most time. And for some, it might feel very uncomfortable as well, or cringe, because they themselves in their head would think like, do you really believe that, or is it something trying to convince yourself? But that moment right there, that's where everything started. It wasn't the fame, the success, or the world called him the king of pop. It started with what he chose to believe about himself when nobody else was watching. And to think how many of us are actually doing the opposite. We look in a mirror and we just tear ourselves down. How many of us, in times of challenge, we start to doubt ourselves? We say things like, you're not talented, I'm not good enough, I'm not ready. When the opportunity presents himself, then we wonder why we never become anything more. What I realized watching that scene is that Michael Jackson didn't wait for the world to call him great. He himself called him great first. And that's uncomfortable for most people because we've been taught that confidence is something you earn. For example, like once you achieve this, then you believe in yourself. But he flipped it. He said, no, I'm going to believe it first and then I'll build something that matches it. And that's really a different mindset entirely. And I started to think about this in my own life. As a coach, as someone trying to build something, as someone trying to put content out there. How often do I struggle with imposter syndrome? Which is the constant doubt of not being good enough, or am I really qualified, or am I really up to standard to produce such quality that people will want to watch? How many times do I say to myself that I'm not ready? Maybe I need to buy a better equipment. But what if readiness isn't something you actually wait for? What if instead it's something you decide? Because everyone sees Michael Jackson and thinks he was born with a great voice, a talent, a father that forced him and his brothers to rehearse day in, day out. Of course, he's that great. He was born with a golden voice. And that's the biggest lie, because what you don't see is the obsession, just like with many great athletes. The hours, the repetition, the details, doing the same move over again and again and again, until it's not just good but perfect. And even then, doing it again, that's not talent but obsession. And that's the big difference between being interested in something and being obsessed with it. Because interest sounds like, yeah, I'll do it when I have time, but obsession sounds like I'll make time no matter what. And if I'm being real with you, most people are just interested. They say they want to get fit, they say they want to grow online, they say they want to be better, but their actions, they don't really match the level of desire. And I had to check myself too, because am I really obsessed with becoming great at what I do? Or am I just trying to get by and see how much I can escape with? Or maybe do I just like the idea of being successful and not actually putting in the hours and the work? So let's go back to that mirror scene, because I don't think that was just about confidence. So I think that was more about training, like mental training. In sports psychology, this is an actual thing, like imagery, visualization, positive self-talk. These are all things that athletes, real-world athletes do before going out there and performing. Okay, let's do a general example. We always talk about reps in the gym. You do your sets, you build your strength, you train your body. But how many of us actually train our mind like that? That moment in the mirror, those were, I would say, mental reps. Every time he said, I'm the best, he was reinforcing that identity. He's not hoping for it, making wish or whatever, not wishing for it. He was actually installing it into his system. And that changed how I look at confidence. Because confidence isn't something that you're born with, it's something that you build through repetition, through what you tell yourself daily. So if every day you're telling yourself, I'm not good enough, then guess what? You're training yourself to believe in that. But if instead, every day you start to train yourself to say things like, I'm ready, I'm good enough. And even if it feels like it's fake at first, the saying, fake it till you make it, you're still building something in the end. Now it's gonna be a bit heavy, but while I admire all of this, there's also a darker side to it. That same obsession, that same drive to be perfect, it actually comes with a cost. You start to sacrifice things. Time, relationships, peace. And I know I said this about the same thing in The Devil Wears Prada about Miranda Priestley. They're similar in the ways of how obsessed they are in their work. Because many of times people glorify greatness, they love the outcome, but we don't always see what it takes to get there, or what it takes out of the person. And watching his story, you can see it. The pressure, the expectations, the weight of always having to be on, especially during his tours, how much he says about he hates tours, on world tours. And think about it, if I am chasing greatness in my own life, what am I willing to give up? And most importantly, what am I not willing to lose? And another thing that really stood out to me was the difference between the performer and the person. On stage, he was untouchable, electric, confident, larger than life. But off stage, he's human, quiet, sometimes unsure, still figuring things out. And I think a lot of us can relate to that. There's that version of you that people see, and then there's the version of you that's just you. And sometimes they don't really match one-to-one. But it's important to be aware of it, because if you're not careful about it, you can get lost in the version of yourself that you're trying to become. So after watching all of this, I had to ask myself a few questions, and I think whoever's watching this video should too. Especially if you're striving for greatness or just trying to achieve something that you're really proud of. What are you telling yourself daily? And when you look in the mirror, what's the conversation like? Are you building yourself up, or are you tearing yourself down? Are you obsessed with your goals, or just interested in some sort of hobby? Are your actions matching what you say? And are you aware of the cost of what you're chasing? Because there's nothing wrong with wanting to be great, but you really need to know what it takes to really be great. And for me, that mirror scene really stands out to me, because it made me realize that maybe the gap between where I am and where I want to be isn't just about what I do. It's about what I really believe in, what I repeat, what I reinforce every single day. So maybe the next time you're alone, when there's no audience, no validation, no one watching, that's your moment, your mirror moment. And what you say in that moment might just shape everything that comes after. Hey guys, this is Nostalgia. I make videos about everything to do with self-improvement, whether it's in the movies, games, just everything in life. And I try to create some content around it just to speak some thoughts. If you're into this kind of videos, subscribe.